guys. I'm Emily Longeretta with Variety, and I am very excited to bring out some of the cast and producers of Cruel Summer. Let's start with our executive producers, Michelle and Bill Purple. Yay! You can sit anywhere you guys would like. You too. And then, of course, our incredible cast here is Sadie, Stanley, Lexi, Underwood, and Griffin, Gluck. Everyone have a mic? Okay. Should we? I think. No, I feel like we're very far away.
Hi guys.
You guys can lay down. You have all this room.
I'm gonna take a quick nap.
Right? Well, can we give it up for the cast of Cruel Summer and the producers? So exciting to be able to watch the first episode. Michelle, Bill, how are you guys feeling? This is the first time everyone's kind of got to see it.
Nervous, very, very nervous. Sweaty palms, but really excited for everyone to see the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fan response to season 1 was so huge, and there's a lot of responsibility to that. So yes. We're excited for you guys are the first fans to see this, and hopefully, if you thought season 1 was twisty, just you wait.
Oof. All right, so had you guys watched season 1? Were you fans? How did this kind of come about for you? Sadie, let's start with you.
I hadn't watched season 1 yet. I knew of it, but then as I started auditioning for it, I was like, I can't watch this yet. So I waited till I actually booked the role, and then I sat down and watched it. I think I didn't want to psych myself out or get myself too excited, but then I sat and watched it in 3 days, and it was amazing. So big fan.
Lexi, what about you?
I binged it all when it all dropped on Hulu in 2021. Just like everybody else, I was looking for something to watch during quarantine, and I was immediately obsessed. And then when I found out that they were doing a season 2, I was incredibly excited. And then when I found out that I was going to be a part of it, I was even more excited.
Griffin?
I did the same thing Sadie did, and I was friends with Kiara from the first season, so I had to send her an apology after I watched it. And I was like, I'm sorry it took me so long. It's actually as great as everyone said it was.
Michelle and Bill, when you guys went into doing the second season, I mean, because the first season was so beloved, how much pressure did you feel about creating a whole new story? And were you worried a little bit about that and not following the same characters from season 1?
Oh yeah, it's nerve-wracking. I mean, you hope for the success we had with season 1, but it also puts a bar very high that you hope you could meet and not let people down. So anthologies are great in this way because you get to recreate something, but also people want to hold on to what was, but yet they want it to be new. So it's a scary process.
It's a tightrope, right? Because the safer thing is, well, let me give you the same thing you already love, just a little different. But this is, we're going to do something totally new, but still the same tone, same structure, something totally new. So it's more of a risk, but that creatively is, I think, more exciting. Yeah. I think that's where you do the better work. So that's the exciting part for me.
Well, yeah, I want to talk a little about this structure that did work so well in the first season, and that clearly you guys are following these three timelines. The lighting change, that's a different approach. The different hairstyles, which of course makes it a little easier to follow. Was that a decision from the beginning of the first season that we want to carry this through however many we do? This is how we're going to differentiate the time periods? Yeah,
I mean, it sort of naturally, you needed an immediate sort of, because you're not invested in the stories, a way to differentiate all this intercutting. What we discovered very quickly was you almost don't even notice it. We noticed last season, by episode 2, you're like, you don't even notice that aesthetic change because you're so invested in the storyline. So we do that just to get you in, so you can go, okay, I get this, because it is confusing and it's challenging for an audience. It really makes you sit forward and go, I got to pay attention to this because we're giving you, I'm not gonna tell you which Easter eggs are in there, but you'll find out. We're giving you all these little details that, it's tart, but I think that's a nice roadmap that allows us to be that twisty.
Yeah, for sure. Griffin, what was your reaction when you read the first script and found out the Luke's ending? I mean, it's a little daunting, I would assume, as an actor to read the first episode and be like, wait, he's dead. So in the one of the storylines, or the third storyline.
Yeah, I actually knew that he was dead before I signed on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys gave him a heads up.
They gave me the heads up, thankfully, and that's actually what excited me a lot. I knew my character's fate, and so everything leading up to that was kind of just setting that up. So it gave me, I think, some free room to kind of play around, knowing where I was going to end. Everything else I got to just mess around with and have fun to make that even better.
And of course, we know there's a love triangle coming. We obviously have gotten a hint of that. But I feel like at the core of this is also a friendship that is so beautiful between two very different girls. How did you guys go about forming the friendship between the two of you and the chemistry that comes across so great on screen?
Oh, thank you.
Thanks. It came so naturally. Like Sadie, the whole cast, like we are genuinely kind of like a family. So being able to kind of create that on-screen chemistry was not hard at all. But what I love so much about the friendship between Isabel and Megan is the mere fact it is different from season 1 in that aspect. That the two girls, their worlds were kind of apart, and in this one, the two girls are together every step of the way and figuring out the problems together. And I think that just being able to see a I wouldn't say healthy. I'm like, but being able to see a female friendship also like thrive and in a sense survive throughout the midst of a love triangle. It's very easy to tell a story where the two girls are being catty and fighting with each other, but over a boy. Yeah, but with this, you just get to see two girls bonding and bringing out something in each other that they didn't know that they had in them prior to Isabella's arrival to Chatham, which is really beautiful to see.
Yeah. Michelle, how important was that for you to create this? I mean, it really is such a really nice friendship that we see throughout this.
Yeah, it's what we spoke about early on is when those teen friendships, girl friendships there's a love there, and and you mimic each other and admire each other. So we really wanted to, as Lexi said, separate it from season 1 as those two girls were apart. These two girls' worlds are together, and how you can go through being the best of friends to not really on the same page anymore.
Definitely. Did you specifically want to do 99 to 2000 for a reason? Was there a specific draw to that specific?
We wanted to lean into Y2K,
The Y2K.
for sure.
And have some great music, which we have to give a shout out to that because
Great
every single song. Now, the cast, if I'm right, the three of you were not alive in 99?
No.
That's what I thought.
I was a
2001
twinkle
is
in my
not
mom's
that
eye.
far
I
off.
was an 03 baby, so
That's for all of us in here that we now feel
Yeah.
old. Did you know this? I mean, especially when you guys have to sing along to these songs. Did you guys know any of the music?
Yes.
I don't know. I really
yes.
just
I mean, definitely have heard
Did-
"Livin' La Vida Loca."
Did you guys know La Vida Loca though?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
okay, my bad.
I did
didn't.
have to
We
learn
don't
all the
live under a
specific
rock,
lyrics.
Griffin.
I mean, we sang that song about 100 times, so by the end of it, I know every single word.
Right.
And I never
It's
want to hear it
fine.
again. Ever. But, yeah.
And I never want to hear that again.
Yeah.
I know. You had
We're
to
all on the
listen
same
to us
page.
in the ADR room sing it over and over again.
When it comes to, I want to ask a little about the casting process because the three of them are so different and so unique, and the characters are so unique. How did you go about finding the right person for each of these characters? How much did you know going into this, the people you wanted?
I think with any casting process, it's you're just looking for this sort of spark that you can't really sort of, speak to. It's just I hate to say this, it's often not, an actor can come in the room and kill it, but they're just not quite right. And sometimes you walk in the room and go, immediately, that's who it is. And we kind of had that with all of you guys. It was immediately like, there's this sort of mysterious person that we're looking for, and as soon as you walk in the room, you can see them embody it. And it was for all of us, Elle, our showrunner, we all were like, yeah, it's Sadie.
And when we did a test between Griffin and Sadie, and when it was via Zoom, so it's a different experience, literally all of us were texting each other going, this is it, we found him, let's do this now. So
I was going to ask about a chemistry test. What was it like for you guys?
It was so funny because like 2 weeks prior to the chem read, I was like throwing a little game night at my house, and Griffin showed up, and I'd never met him before, and we played charades together, and I was like, I'm never gonna see this guy again. Lovely to meet you. 2 weeks later, I hop on the Zoom, and Griffin's there, and I'm like, no way, Griffin. So it was fun. Our chemistry was good, I think.
It was really rewarding for me because I had directed Griffin like 12 years ago on Private Practice. And then suddenly, right?
Yes, give it up.
It became this sort of accidental, not by design reunion. So
Crazy.
it was great to see him on the list there. And
It was terrifying for me because I hopped on the Zoom chemistry read. Sadie and I started to do our scene, and in the middle of one of our scenes, Jessica Biel pops in and interrupts. and goes, "Hey, sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Am I interrupting? I'm just gonna pop back here and watch. Don't mind me." And I was like, "That's an impossible thing for me to do."
No big deal. No pressure.
No pressure at all. Yeah.
And Lexi
Sorry,
had
Jessica.
Lexi had so much pressure because she joined us at the very last second. So it was
Okay.
like within 2 days, it was like she had to pick it all up, and it was a whirlwind. And we were so blessed. We were like, thank
She
God.
handled it so well.
Thanks,
Yes.
guys. I was just honored to be able to join.
Oh, cute. I'm bless you. I want to know who. I guess I kind of want to dive into each of these characters and talk a little. First, let's start with Luke and talk a little about what his arc is like. What can you say? I know it's hard to tease, but what can you say about where he's going when he's still alive, of course, and what's happening with these two ladies next to you?
Luke is I think he's a complicated character because he does a lot of silly things in the show. He's a silly, stupid, young, naive boy, and he makes a lot of mistakes. But he is, he's in this family who's like one of the more prominent families in town, probably the most prominent family in town, and he doesn't necessarily see himself as that a Chambers man, and he wants to kind of separate himself from that, and he wants to be different and better. And I think you'll see throughout the season, he keeps making these slips and these mistakes where he kind of proves to himself that he is that and that he doesn't want to be that, and he's constantly running from it. So he's a good guy deep down, I hope. Everyone's going to make their own judgment at the end of the day, but he goes on a journey.
Out.
You'll find out.
Michelle, Bill, is he a good guy deep down?
Of course, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Look at that face.
I think so too.
Look at that face.
It's deceiving.
Lexi, what about you? Let's talk about Isabella and what she's where she comes from. What's she about?
Yeah, Isabella is a very complex character. When we first meet her, that's an understatement.
Yeah.
When we first meet her, she is really charming and confident and alluring. She's a girl that, she knows what she wants and she does whatever she can do until she gets there. I love using like this analogy because there's this thing called the duck syndrome, and I think that this is like the perfect way to describe Isabella. When you see a duck floating on water, it looks like super peaceful and like they have their entire life together. But when you go beneath the surface, you see the duck is like actually paddling to like stay afloat, and I think that is Isabella the entire series. She seems as though she has everything put together. She's lived this incredible life, but deep down you see this young, scared girl who has always had what she needed but not what she wanted. And when she gets to Chatham, Megan creates a space for her to be vulnerable and to be herself and to be free. And so we see, especially in the Winter '99 timeline, she lets that guard down and she lets loose. But with that, we see how it all unfolds and how her trauma from her past really kind of shakes things up in Chatham and drives her to do some crazy things.
Well put.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, thanks.
You trained them well. You guys have
This is
trained
a
them well
hard show to
tease.
talk about because
know.
you can't unpeel the onion too much.
Yeah, Sadie, you're up.
Well,
No pressure.
I don't have like some amazing analogy about ducks or anything, but that was awesome. When you first meet Megan, she's like such a goody two shoes, like a straight A student, a little bit of a tomboy, and just like a little bit sheltered in some ways, but really grown in other ways. She kind of had to grow up fast because she has a single mom and she's helping with the bills and taking care of her little sister, and she's just like not allowed to slip up, like too afraid to make any mistakes, too afraid to let loose and be a kid. And that's where Isabella comes in. And at first Megan can't stand her, which you saw, but eventually she kind of cracks her open, and Isabella like gives her the encouragement and the space that she needed to let loose and be a teenage girl and do all those things, kiss a boy and like drink and do all those fun things and just like kind of relax a little bit. So we kind of get to see her blossom, and she like starts dressing a little bit girlier and like gets a boyfriend. It's very cute. And then in that third timeline, we see a very different Megan. She's got this very hard exterior, this very dark aura about her, and all of that is just like a mask to protect herself, because clearly something's going on inside of her. I think that she does that. Like I think she thinks if she looks tough on the outside, then she can be tough on the inside and like handle everything that's coming her way. But we'll see how that goes. You'll see how that goes.
For filming these episodes, did you guys film in order, like all the timeline?
You would think.
One timeline
I wish.
first.
Boy, wouldn't that be
That would
easy?
be
There was a lot of
nice.
time in hair and
No.
makeup then.
No.
These champs went from, they're playing 3 characters, versions of those characters, and in a day they could jump from one to another, and so you have to really stop and be like, where are you in time? But no, unfortunately, production doesn't allow that.
And at times across episodes, because we sort of shot in sequence, but the nature of the show is we sort of get to a place and then we go, oh, this is an interesting thing to do in this timeline. Let's go back to this episode and seed this thing. So we're going to add a little scene here and there and that. And so they're jumping across episodes and timelines, and they do quick change wardrobe constantly. Not that quick, but it's incredibly challenging on the cast. And to a person, I commend them, because I couldn't keep track of it, but they did for me. So.
It's a lot of time in hair and makeup, I would assume also.
Yeah.
Was there a timeline you guys preferred playing? That you either had the most fun in or was the most challenging?
I think summer was always fun, because summer's the timeline of just having, fun and being free and being a teenager and kind of setting it up that, this is where we came from. We came from this fun, bright time. And then you see, obviously, where that leads us. But that was definitely the most fun to film, except for when it was, like, freezing cold and we were in, like, shorts and a short-sleeve T-shirt. That was hard.
That was rough.
What about you guys? What was the most challenging?
Well, I mean, I think, like those first 2 timelines are really fun, and then as we get towards the end of the second timeline and that third timeline, that's where everything kind of falls apart and it gets a little bit darker and a little deeper. So those are probably the most challenging times. I know that we all leaned on each other a lot in those last couple of episodes, because they're heavily in that third timeline and at the end of the second timeline. But those are also the most fun, the most challenging, and they stretch you as an actor. I think we had a lot of fun doing them too.
Michelle and Bill, did you guys, and maybe was there a consideration of putting, making this in the same universe as season 1 or the same town or something that has a connection or an Easter egg? Was that a conversation you guys had?
Yes, well, there is an Easter egg, but I'm
Okay.
not going to tell you what that is. But we really thought it was interesting to.
There's a connection to season 1.
There's a connection, but you'll have to find it. But we really thought it would be interesting to show a different atmosphere, a different place, a different energy, especially since we were skipping time a little bit. So we thought that would be an interesting element to add to our 3 timelines, 2 perspectives, and this new little world we're creating.
And early on, we had those conversations. We were like, okay, great. What does season 2 look like? And we felt like season 1 was such a satisfying end to those characters' arcs. We were like, it would feel like, I didn't want to know what happened to them. Like, there were some mysteries, but I was like, I want to complete that mystery in my head.
Yeah.
I want you guys to own what you think happens. I don't want to tell you what it is. It's better that way, I think.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's create a new world, and then anthology became the thing, and then that became really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I will be going to audience questions, so start thinking of your questions. Where did you guys film this? It's so beautiful. Looks so gorgeous.
Vancouver.
Everything was in Vancouver?
Yeah. Season 1 was Dallas.
Yes.
This was Vancouver. Yeah.
So I was curious how to
That was
switch up.
part of it was we wanted to make sure that it was also a new world, like environment and physics, everything, so that it felt unique to its own.
We also wanted to make sure Griffin was cold during the
All the
summer
time.
scenes. So
And really hot during the winter scenes.
Yes.
So
You guys succeeded.
A good trade-off. How much for the cast, obviously you knew what Luke's fate was. How much did you guys know about the mystery in the beginning, and when did you find out the rest of it?
We knew nothing. I mean, we knew obviously, we got the first 2 scripts for the first 2 episodes, but then after that, it was just constantly we would find out episode by episode. So it's interesting when you are doing summer 2000 scenes, and it's like, but who did? Are we telling the truth? Who's telling the truth? Is Luke? Is he still alive? You got to question every single person
Right.
Without actually knowing how it ends. So it's a bit tricky, but we trusted them every step of the way. And it all worked out because it also made it a little authentic because we genuinely didn't know, just like our characters
no,
had.
what they did was Sadie would come to me and try to get a little bit of information. Then Lexi would I'd be at the monitor and be like hiding. Don't come to me. Don't ask me anything. And then they would get together and try to piece things together. But we thought it would be more interesting for them because the secrets are the fun part, right? And they knew what they needed to know at the time. That's the way I told them.
100%. Who is most like their character?
That's such a good question.
That is a good question.
I don't know.
Well, I think Bill and Michelle, you guys should answer
Yeah.
that.
What do you guys
Ooh,
think?
Pressure. Ooh.
And in which timeline? Because like,
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
guys, stop
important.
it. This isn't nice. Don't put this on us.
Some feelings might get hurt right here.
I'm scared.
Timeline 1 for you.
For me?
Yeah.
go.
Timeline 3 for you.
For me?
You're fierce.
oh my
She is a fierce. This is not
Do
someone you want to
Megan
tangle
in
with.
timeline 3 would be wearing a bright orange suit? Like,
Yeah,
no.
maybe not so much. But
Feelings did just get hurt.
Careful what you, yeah.
man, I can't sit. You're parts of all three in some way.
Okay.
Yours
I
is
think
complex.
timeline 1
Yeah.
and 2 for her. You
1 and
have
2.
that kind of like
Yeah.
magnetic energy about you, like in real life.
Can we talk a little about forming chemistry with some of the other casts that aren't here? I mean, obviously the people we saw in the first episode, but I feel like this entire cast is so many great people. How did you guys find the rest of the cast, especially the parents who are obviously such a big part of this? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, we were shooting in Vancouver, so a lot of our great cast are local to there. There's some other LA people that casting sent us. It's a weird process. I'm not a fan of the sort of Zoom casting. I like to be in the room and meet people, but we found fantastic people. We were very lucky, and sort of as I mentioned, that private practice reunion
Yes.
between Paul Edelstein and Katie Strickland was very accidental. It was we had Griffin first, and then as we were looking at people, KD came across our attention, and I was like, oh, I know, yeah, oh, that'd be interesting. Maybe reunion. Oh, God, that's cool. And then we were looking for Paul's character, and Paul's name came. We're like, this is interesting. This is maybe, and it just all sort of worked out, and it wasn't like a forced thing. I would never want to do that, but it just was like they won the parts, and we were very. It was kismet. It was weird.
And Braden, who plays Griffin's brother, and Lisa Yamada, we just have such great supporting cast, and I don't know, they all have such great energy together, and they are authentically friends.
Yeah.
So we just feel like we're very proud and excited about our cast.
And the nice thing is, as if you're a fan of the show, you'll know like everybody has an interesting part to play. So they all have something to chew on and some role that you may not expect and twists and turns. So I think it's a fun show for cast because often you can be a supporting actor and you don't have that much to do, but everybody's got something fun to do.
Yeah, definitely. It's tough to even ask questions about the storyline because I feel like everything is a spoiler. So I'm kind of like skirting around things. But I'm curious why any of you can answer this. I know Michelle and Bill, you probably would be best to answer, but the cast can definitely chime in. Why you think, I can say now that season 2 will resonate with audiences as much as season 1 did. And season 1 really had this impact that people could not wait week to week to watch it. Why do you think that this story and this storytelling device works so well?
Well, everyone's been a teen, girl or boy, and so you can relate to that time in your life before you're a true adult and some of the decisions you make. And I think we respect our audience. You have to actively watch, pay attention in this time where we're all distracted with our phones and life happening. And we respect that they're going to pay attention and follow along with us.
And I think that there's something to sort of accidentally this 3 timeline thing that, I have a 13 and a 15-year-old, is how quickly in that age you do change. Like, when one moment you're like, oh, you're a sweet little kid. Now you're a teenager. And now you're totally different, you know what I mean? Like, so there's something to those jumps that feels authentic to that teen experience because you change so quickly that, it doesn't feel, if you were to do that as an adult characters, I feel like it would feel weirder in a way because you don't change as much as an adult, right? Those giant changes would feel forced, but as that sort of teen process, it works.
Definitely. What about you guys? Why do you guys feel like this show will resonate with so many people?
I'm just going to echo what you guys said, which is, the story's set in the late 90s, early 2000s, but these are topics that aren't necessarily new and that, a lot of people can relate to. It's a teenage love story, love triangle, friendship story. Murder mystery, I don't know how many people can relate to that, but, there's a lot of elements there that are not like Y2K specific. So I think it can reach such a broad audience, like the younger audiences are definitely going to get something out of it. I see a lot of myself and Luke and a lot of these characters. I hope other people resonate with that as well, who are, that age or possibly even older, looking back. And then it's wildly relatable. These topics are not new, but the setting is different.
All right, if you guys have questions, I don't know if there's someone coming around with a mic or if people just want to raise their hand and yell. Okay, there is. Oh, another side, either side. Yes, if you want to run over to that mic, if that works. What? Or that one, yes, either side. Whatever one you're closer to, you guys can line up if we want. Go ahead.
Hey guys, nice to meet you guys. Thanks for coming to Austin. For the 3 cast members, I just want to ask you, how does this show, being on Freeform, how is this different than Lock and Key on Netflix? And for you, Lexi, for Little Fires Everywhere, and also for you, Sadie, how is this different than the Goldberg, working on comedy?
Let's see. It's different because Lock and Key had magic, I guess. It's also the same because my character dies in that one as well.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, behind the scenes.
Because it's Freeform versus Netflix, he was saying, like he was naming the different networks.
For sure. Well, I mean, Lock and Key was definitely different from anything I've worked on because of the amount of VFX that we did. Netflix had a huge VFX budget. So there were a lot of days that I spent the entire day in like wires on a green screen talking to a pink tennis ball. So, I mean, that was definitely different than this.
For me, Little Fires, it not that different because Hulu and Freeform, they're all like under the Disney umbrella, so very familiar like with this team. But this is my first time doing like a teen drama in a sense. I feel like with Little Fires or like First Lady, like those are kind of more geared towards like older generations, and so it's really cool to be able to tap in with Gen Zers and then have like basically like a whole teen cast that I'm able to connect with and like actually like be friends with on and off set. So I guess it's different in that aspect.
Yeah, Cruel Summer is definitely wildly different from working on the Goldbergs. I loved the Goldbergs. It's such a fun set. But the energy that like I brought onto set was probably different working on Cruel Summer. Like, yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It was more work. I don't know. Like, Cruel Summer challenged me as an actor for sure, which is what I was looking for. So, yeah.
All right, next question.
This is probably more for Bill and Michelle, but if any of the cast wants to speak to it, I know you mentioned the water cooler moments of having to wait week to week to find out what happens and keeping conversations going. Used to be that actors almost felt like we're contractually obligated to like be on Twitter and engaging like at a live thing, and that no longer seems the case anymore. Are you guys trying to tap into things like TikTok or things like that to keep social commentary going and raise awareness that there is a new season of Cruel Summer to an audience that might not be watching linear TV?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's where people are checking in and finding their content right now is through these mediums. And what we do love about our show is it gives you, there are shows that you want to binge and you should binge. And this is one where we were able to create water cooler moments. And you may, at an end of an episode, be on one person's side, where the next episode you're going to be on a completely other person's side. And if you can create a water cooler moment as a show, you've won the lottery. If you can get people talking about it and telling their friends to watch it, I can retire now.
That's the goal. And yeah, I mean, I know Freeform and Hulu do an amazing job of publicity, and they have all kinds of great plans. But I think from our perspective, our job was to give them the gold to sell, right? Like at the end of every episode, we want you leaving going, we called it internally the holy shit moment. We need a holy shit at the end of every episode so
Language,
that
Bill.
Yeah, sorry. that you want to go watch the next one, right? There's a lot of content out there for you guys, so it's like we got to give you a reason.
I'd love to know from Bill and Michelle how you put together the story. Obviously, the more twists and turns and reveals something has, the harder it is to conceptualize that story. So I'm interested to know Like, where did you start with it? Did you start with the ending and work your way backwards? What were the hardest parts of it? Well, I guess maybe you could talk to season 1, what the hardest parts were to make work.
This is one of the hardest shows to do, to break. We have this amazing showrunner, Elle Triedman, who couldn't be here today, but it's a puzzle piece. And as Bill mentioned earlier, you sort of go forward 2 steps and then back 1 step. You go 2 steps and back 1 step because of the 3 timelines and the 2 perspectives. I mean, for me, sometimes my brain, you have to sit there and be like, okay, where am I in time? What are they doing?
Yeah, I mean, I always like to try to boil everything down to something very simple. And you know, when we started season 1, it was about envy. It was about Jeanette coveted this life that she wanted, and how envy can, you know, sort of lead you to do the things that you may not be willing, or some might not be willing to do. There's some crazy people out there that would do it, but that lock people in basements. But like, you know, that is the sort of core to it. And so, you know, in season 2, we started there. We started like, what is that theme? What is that thing, that relatable sort of sin, you know, and what is that thing we want to explore? And for us, it was, you know, several things actually. We sort of explored loyalty and obsession and some other things I can't mention yet because you haven't seen the other episodes. But there are many themes along the way that we sort of like, this is where we start, and how, you know, then we find the characters, and we're always writing. I think it's the other part, is the commitment to, you know, up until the day before filming the finale, we're always like, how can we twist it further, you know what I mean? Like, is this the best thing? It's sort of never giving up on the page, ever, until it airs. I think that's the key.
Great question. Let's go over here.
Well, first off, I'm just gonna say I loved the first season, and I almost was like, oh, new characters, I don't know, but I am already hooked, and I'm like disappointed that I only get to watch 2 on June 5th. I was like, I don't get to binge the whole thing? Dang it. But I also appreciate what you guys have done with this, and like, you know, building these amazing storylines and the visual with the different like color concepts and schemes. But like you say, it becomes so seamless. And you kind of already sort of answered my question, where I was gonna say, well, 1, what's gonna be season 3? Are we gonna get to see you guys again, or are we going anthology? But like this structure of uniqueness with like, you're building the story all the time then, is kind of, I guess, what I'm hearing. And I want to kind of hear from your guys' side too. Like, did you find that was more impactful for you in acting it as well, not knowing the story and knowing that, I'm sure you had the vision the whole time for what you're doing, but you're literally telling me that as you filmed it, you were tweaking and you guys didn't know, and how was that for acting that too?
It was a challenge. I mean, it was unlike anything I've ever done before, and it just meant that we had to be so quick on our feet and so just like ready to change and to adapt at any moment. We had to kind of like put our hands up and be like, okay, I'm gonna trust this process, and what I'm gonna lean on is knowing my character and knowing who Megan is, knowing how she's gonna react in situations, no matter like what she might know. Is like, I'm her biggest advocate, I know her the best, so like that's what I have to focus on, even though I don't know where we're going at all.
Totally.
Yeah, definitely piggybacking off of what Sadie said. But I think that also what makes it cool in a sense is that our characters don't know their fate as well. So I think that as an actor, it only connects you more to your character because you are going on this process kind of blindly, just like your character. And then, yeah, like Sadie said, you have to, as actors, it's our job to basically know the character like the back of our hand. So that when something is thrown at us, we're able to adapt and adjust, and it doesn't throw us off track. But we just had like such a great team. We trusted them every step of the way, and it was definitely a challenge, but it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much more I can add. Looking back, honestly, I found it very frustrating. I had a really hard time with it on the day, but now that we've gotten through it, I look back, I'm incredibly proud of the hard work that we put into it. It really paid off. But yeah, it was definitely a challenge. It was something that I had to challenge myself as an actor. It's something I wasn't used to at all. But I think that I definitely grew because of it, as a person and as an actor. Really had to roll with the punches, which, is what Bill told me kind of on the first week. He was like, look, man, this is a show where it's going to be a crazy shoot. You're going to have to roll with the punches and just know that we've got your back through all this. And he was not lying,
Is that what you did to the actors in the first season too? They also didn't know?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be on this show, then you just have to be prepared.
You know, the greatest thing, and Lexi and I just spoke about this, you know, in season 1, we didn't tell any of them the ending. The only 2 people in season 1 that knew the ending were the people that needed to know. And we were able to watch it with them and to see their reactions, the ones that weren't involved. And we did the same thing with this one. Is there's only a few people that know what the ending of this one, so there's gonna be some big surprises.
And I'm convinced I still don't know the ending. I feel like I'm pretty sure I was there when we shot it, and I was a part of it, but I can't be too sure. I'm like really convinced.
You may or may not have been there.
I know.
So good.
He thinks
So-
that we recorded a different ending and that he's
Seriously,
going to be shocked.
You
when he
come
watches
back
it.
from the dead.
Surprise!
Actually,
That's a good
zombie
twist.
show.
Spoiler.
That's a good twist.
Okay, slight follow up, and I'll get off the mic. When you contract with Hulu, do you guys decide the format? Because like, I started coming to ATX because of Veronica Mars, and I remember the Rob Thomas, the creator of that, was super nervous because that was like in the '90s, like when I was going to high school, when you guys are portraying this. But like, he was afraid of the binging that happens when you release a murder mystery type show all at once versus when they were originally on air, it was weekly format. Did you like? That's a known thing with Hulu. We're going to release these water cooler style so people can't spoil the murder mystery.
Well, our first air is on Freeform, which is
sorry,
So
I
it's
watch
it
Hulu.
and yeah, and so that sort of dictates
Okay.
how Hulu releases it.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and that's sort of creatively the challenge is how do we make a show that is satisfying in both ways? If you consume it once a week,
Right.
it's like we got to be able to draw you back in and make you want to come back next week. And if you want to binge it, it's just as satisfying. You know what I mean? So that's always in the back of our minds.
Yeah, and there's, I'm sure we all have that style. Some people will wait till all 10 are down
True.
to watch it. They just can't handle the week to week.
Yep.
We've become so impatient with that, some of us. So I think some will choose to wait and some will.
However you watch it, we're just happy
watch
to
it.
watch it.
Just
You've done
watch
a great
it.
job towing the line on both sides. So
I'm so excited to see people's theories week to week. If they do watch it week to week and like make a night out of it, I can't wait to see what people think each week. Because every time we got a script, we like thought it was somebody else.
Constantly new theories. Yeah.
All right, next question.
Hi there. So I'm here for my daughter, who's just a huge fan. So first of all, I'm just so excited to be able to, relate to you guys and see what you guys are starting next. And,
Thank you. Tell your
because
daughter we say hi.
I will. She's like, I've got the pictures. Oh my God. Yeah, I have no doubt when I get home. So it's, mom points are scored today. But I guess I was going to ask, as young up-and-coming actors in LA, do you feel supported by the industry there? Do you feel supported by the community of and the young actor community that you kind of work and network into? And I'm going to switch the tables because everybody is always asking, for a piece of advice for young persons. Would you give an advice for a mom? Like, what advice would you give to a parent of a young child who's wanting to go to LA someday?
Wow, these are great questions.
Those are great questions. How much time do we got?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I don't want to speak for everyone on this table, but I mean, the young actor scene in LA. First off, everyone in LA is an actor. Like every single person you meet is an actor. The other thing is, it's a really competitive place. A lot of people are competing for you in the exact same thing that you want, they want. Which makes it really hard because even your closest friends you're competing against, But I think at any point in LA, if you're there for long enough, you find your people, you find your crew. I am constantly competing against some of my closest friends, and we've gotten to a point where it's like, if I don't get it, I would love for you to get it. I'm supporting you all the way. Like if you get it, I'm happy for you. I'll be a little sad, but that doesn't make me dislike you. I'm still happy for you. It's a great opportunity. I'm just excited for you as I would be if I got it, or at least that's the goal, So yeah, it's tough, but you always find your crew, you always find your people, and that's what's most important is just making sure you don't have to be supported by every single person. That's kind of a crazy thing to ask for, especially in such a competitive industry. You just have to be supported by the people around you, the people that are supposed to be your closest friends, and I think all of us have that, I hope.
Yeah, no,
that in each other,
absolutely.
too.
Yeah, we also, yep. we have that in each other. We found that in the cast. But LA is a very interesting scene. Like you said, definitely there are a lot of actors and things can sometimes get a little competitive. But for me, something that I've just always like kept in mind is that like what's for you is always going to come into your life. So if I'm, competing or with a friend or something like that, if they get it, I genuinely know that that's what's meant for them, and I'm going to support them every single step of the way. And it's rare to find people that are as authentic and genuine as Griff and Sadie, and I consider myself to be. But when you really find like your tribe of people, hold on to it, stick to it. And then my parents, they moved out. My mom specifically, she moved out to LA with me. And so having her there every step of the way, anytime that I felt not supported by, the community of actors or something, she was always there with me every step of the way. So she's like my best friend and got me through those tough times.
Yeah, I totally agree with what they were saying. Finding your people is like the number one step to having a good head on your shoulders. They both started acting a lot earlier than I did. They started as kids, and I didn't start acting until I was 16. And I used to be really upset that I like didn't get a head start or whatever. But I'm actually really grateful for all of those like normal childhood years that I had, that I got to be like weird and ugly and like, you know what I mean, like just normal. And so.
Are you saying we're not normal?
Right.
No,
Like what? What are you trying to say?
I mean, you're right, but what a crazy thing to call us out on this big crowd.
I'm just saying she asked for advice for a parent that has a kid that wants to go to LA and be an actor.
No, she is right, yeah.
I'm just saying, just make sure they have a good head on their shoulders first. Like, those young years are like when you're the most insecure and the most unsure of yourself. And like LA will just make that worse, and like acting will just make that worse. I'm not trying to be negative. Okay,
No. I think the point you're trying to make is it's like
This is an idea for season 3.
My
wheels are spinning, guys.
I'm just saying, like, if she really wants it, or your son or daughter, whoever really wants it, like they will be so persistent that they won't like let you forget it. And that's when it's right. Make sure they really want it and that they have a good foundation first.
it's a lot of rejection.
I don't know anything about parenting,
A lot
but
of rejection, and it can be a toxic space sometimes. So it's just important to wrap yourself, your family, wrap your arms around her, and make sure that she genuinely knows that she has a strong support system every step of the way.
yeah.
I love that this ended on parenting advice. It makes
Right,
me
I
really
know.
excited. Do you guys want to add anything?
I'll just say we finally are cool with our teen sons. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. Our sons finally, Jessica Biel, Justin Timberlake, whatever. Lexi and Sadie were cool. Sorry, Griffin. They didn't.
It's okay, I felt left out.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Tell everybody when they can watch Cruel Summer's second episode.
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah.
June 5th. 2 days? 3
On
days.
Freeform, June 5th,
June 5th.
next day on Hulu.
Yes.
First 2 episodes.
Thank you
First
so much
two.
for being
Thank you,
here.
everyone.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.